And so we can put this up on YouTube later. All right, so thank you guys for joining us. For those of you who don't know me, I am Todd Albert. I'm the founder and one of the lead instructors at Boca Code. We actually have several of our instructors and staff on this call. We've got Michelle Bakels, who just finished a talk on volunteering, and Mariela Pascual, who has been one of my trusty coworkers for several years now, and Jonathan Sanchez, and most notably, who's going to be our speaker, Ashley Kays, who I'll introduce in a moment. But just to tell you a little bit about Boca Code first, we're a new code school that new in the sense that we just launched, and also new in the sense that we have a little bit of a different model than most other code schools. So I work very closely in the community here in South Florida with all of the major tech companies and a lot of the small tech companies. And one of the things that we're working on together through various committees is looking at the tech skills that are missing and absent in South Florida. And it turns out there's a lot that even students who are coming out of code camps and students that are coming out of CS degrees don't always have all the hard and soft skills that are needed to jump right into a job in the tech community here. So we're working very closely with them, and we're developing our curriculum here at Boca Code to reflect those needs so that when our students graduate, they can jump right into the workforce without additional training. We also take on projects for small companies, small local companies, and our staff and our students get to work on these projects. So students graduate with real world experience, having real projects on their resume, not just boilerplate projects, and really have experience working when they get out there in the job force. So that's a little bit about us. We do things a little bit different here, so come check us out. And now I want to, before I turn it over to Ashley, I just want to tell you guys a little bit about Ashley Kays. She's been coding since she was very young. She actually started founding her first company, I think, when she was 15 years old. By the time she was, in her later teens, she was like an MS manager, and I mean, she's worked for companies like Disney and NCR, and amazing, had multiple startups. But not only is she this amazing tech guru that knows design and UX just as well as she knows coding, which is, really rare combination, but she's also been an entrepreneur her whole life. And several of her startups have included tech schools and coding schools, especially for working with kids. So she has her own company called Code Teachers, which has kind of become a sister company with Boca Code. Code Teachers teaches the kids, and then we teach the adults. She's also one of our co-founders here at Boca Code, and has also worked at other code schools doing a lot of virtual online teaching. So she's kind of an all-around badass rock star. And with that, I'll pass the mic over to Ashley. And thanks, Ashley.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here. And as I always say, Todd, your light shines everywhere. I mean, you help everyone all the time, and you're so talented, and just so happy to be partnered with you. So, all right, so let me share my screen, and then I'm going to tell you guys some stuff today. I don't know why that's doing that. Where is my Chrome? Oh, right here in front of me. Okay, sorry, I always have a lot of tabs open. That's part of I think it's part of a creative brain, or it might be just a brain that overthinks and just doesn't want to let anything go. Gotta just keep those tabs open. Okay, so first of all, well, actually, I'll tell you guys this later. I'll present this. So I love this topic. I've got to be honest. So this isn't exactly going to match our normal branding. Sorry, guys, and sorry, Todd. This is a presentation I've done in the past, and it's just a little bit refactored for today. But this is by far probably one of my very favorite topics, because I feel like freedom is the thing that we deserve as a human and we all want. And I feel like when we have our own startup or our own side hustle, we're not really under the command of anyone else. If something like a crazy pandemic comes, we have a backup plan, something we can always rely on. And it doesn't mean we may not have a day job that we love. I myself do. But it does give you a lot of peace of mind, among other things. And it's also really fun. You always keep learning new things when you have something that you're creating. So one of the things, and I've actually spoken to Todd about this a lot too, is throughout my life, like Todd said, I started really young. And I would say that, you know, if I was going to describe myself, I'm someone that always wants to help others, honestly, not in a bragging way. It's really important to me. So I've worked really hard and I've made people a lot of money. But recently, in the last couple of years or so, I decided that I didn't just want to make other people money. I also want to make money too. And it's not because of selfish reasons. My plan is actually to use it to help provide education to a lot of others. But what I needed to realize is that the more resources I have access to, the more people I can help. So a lot of us have like a stigma against money. We might think that money is bad or that it changes who we are, but it doesn't have to. You know, the way that we use it is up to us. So I wanted freedom and I wanted to help others be free. And this is still probably my primary mission, even, you know, doing Boca Code and doing Code Teachers. The whole thing is that we're teaching you how to have a job that's high paying, that's fun, that you can enjoy for the rest of your life, because the computer really could not care less how old you are, especially if you keep learning. You'll never age out in technology as long as you stay current. In fact, you'll be more in demand because you'll have leadership skills generally. So I figured out how I wanted to be free. And what I've done is I've bootstrapped my own ideas. And my path to freedom has many times been a side hustle. I'd start it while I was doing something else. It was a little bit lower risk. If you're younger and you don't have a family, sometimes you can just dive in without a day job, but some of us don't have that luxury. I didn't. So many times I would build it in my spare time on a subject that I love with all my heart. So whatever my passion was, you know, in Code Teachers' case, it was, I wanted to help kids believe in themselves. And I wanted to show that anything's possible and that every kid's just one caring adult away from a success story. And that was the whole point of it. So today I teach and I coach people like you to learn new skills, make extra money, and make their lives more meaningful by creating businesses they love or launching into technology. So if you don't have a business idea right now, that's okay. You will soon. So that's me in a nutshell. So I sometimes didn't like using the word hustle because to me, it sounds like maybe you're trying to trick someone. But over time, I've thought of it more like it just shows you have gumption. Like you're willing to work hard. You're willing to do more with less. You're not expecting everything to be perfect to get started. You're just going to figure things out. And having a startup or having a side hustle, a lot of it is that you're figuring things out on the fly. You're figuring out how to stretch a dollar far. You know, we don't have the luxury of having everything perfect like when we work in corporate America. Sometimes we do. You know, there's a person for every job. There, you know, if you want to change the toner, you call facilities in some cases. Hustle isn't like that. You're going to get stuff done. You're going to leverage resources, but you know, you're going to be willing to take calculated risks. You're going to have a finisher's attitude. It's really important that when you do have a startup or a side hustle, you have to keep learning all the time. So myself, one of the things that I do is I start a lot of ideas, but I need to make sure that I always finish them. So I'm always studying, like, how do I stay focused? I need the Pomodoro technique. I want to read, start, finishing, make sure that everything that I bring to life, stays alive successfully. This is one of the things that I've been reading. It's actually sealed because my mom gave me a new copy, but I've read this many times in my life. It's Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. And the whole premise, sorry guys, the whole premise, can you guys still see me? Sorry. Todd?
Yes.
Okay, sorry guys. The whole premise is what we think about.
Yeah, you're good, you're good.
Thanks. The whole premise is what we think about, we can actually bring to life. And it's so true, like whether we believe we can do something or we can't do something, that's the reality. And in my life, I've always just believed I could do it. If someone gave me a new challenge, I can tell you honestly, as a startup or as an agency, I have literally been assigned a task before with a software I've never used before and figured it out overnight. I've actually taught software that I've never even used until that very day, just because for some reason or another, they tossed it over to me and I'm like one click ahead. So I heard this cool saying a while back, and I'm not saying I want to trick anybody. It's nothing like that. It's just about figuring things out and being willing to take risks. So there's 3 things that I always tell myself, especially before I teach a class. I can do anything for an hour. So no matter how scary, whatever it is I'm about to do, It's only an hour. I can do it. I've got enough stamina and energy to survive this. And I used to teach about 20 classes a week, which is 20 hours plus all the preparation. So sometimes I'd get pretty exhausted. It doesn't sound like a lot, but I also had a job and some other things. So each time you're like, I can do anything for an hour. I can inspire anyone for an hour. The next thing that I always want to do is believe that you can do anything. So even if you don't have it figured out, you will figure it out. So that movie, Catch Me If You Can, I don't know if any of you have seen it. It has Leonardo DiCaprio in it. And I'm not saying again that I want to trick anyone, but somebody asked him once, like, how did you teach a class about a subject in economics when you've literally never even been to college? And he said, well, I studied ahead, and all I had to do was be at least one chapter ahead of my students. So when you're doing a startup or a hustle, you don't have to have everything figured out. You're going to learn as you go. So to create a successful side hustle or business, you need to have a growth mindset. You need to know that you're going to have to experiment, you're going to have to be creative, you're going to have to work your butt off to make things happen. But your result is going to be an education well beyond what any money can buy. You're going to have fun, you're going to be empowered, you're going to change the world, honestly, and you're in control of your life, which is probably the most important aspect. So you decide what you want to create. And we have to stop waiting for a better time. A lot of people are like, well, when I do this or when I do that, then I'll be ready. There's never going to be a good time. Now is the time. Don't wait. I remember, I've been doing co-teachers for a long time, and Todd and I would be on a lot of the same calls together. And, I grew a great respect for him before I even got to meet him in person. And he said he's looking for a code founder. I'm not rich. I don't have millions of dollars, but I do have some things that I could bring to the table. So I reached out to Todd and I said, I want to partner with you. I'll do whatever you want me to do. I want to help. Where can I fit? And that's exactly it. You have to be willing to take a risk. He took a risk. I took a risk, and we just go for it. So if you're trying to make a big change, a hustle can help you build a foundation to move on to something else. So if you love your day job, that's awesome. I love mine. But the hustle is going to provide a creative outlet and a backup plan, because there are a lot of great people that were let go during COVID that was completely out of their hands. So when you're thinking about a side hustle or a startup, you have to think, well, what's my objective? Do I want to just do something that I really enjoy? Or am I trying to make a lot of money? Is it both? Do I just want to be able to work anywhere? Do I want to impact lives? Am I trying to build a ministry? Is this nonprofit? What am I doing and why? So generating extra cash is really not that hard. There's lots and lots and lots and lots of ways to do it, especially now that there is, this internet and this gig economy. So we'll go over that, but you're going to be able to start planning your dream pretty quickly. So when I have this talk with you guys, if you have any questions or, feel free to cut in anytime. It doesn't bother me if you want to ask something. So when you take this path, a while back, I read this book. It's called The Dip. And it says, before you do anything, the first thing that you should do is recognize that sometimes it's going to get hard. And it's not that you're talking yourself out of it. You're actually preparing yourself for the hard times so that when you do encounter it, you're like, oh yeah, I remember, I thought this could happen. It did. I'm ready. I'm going to keep going. It's not going to stop me. Because sometimes you're going to get tired. Sometimes you may have a client that's not happy. Something doesn't go the way you planned. Something sad happens in your life and you don't have it in you. You've got to stick with it, because almost every success story was just one, like many times right on the verge of what they thought was a failure before a big breakthrough came through. They didn't have enough money. Just the right person heard their story and gave them the money. They were going to be bounced by the competition. The competition acquired them, or they came up with some revolutionary thing that changed everything. And next thing you know, they became the big player. So that book that I mentioned called The Dip uses medical school as an example, and they use organic chemistry. So they say, your family's so excited, you're so excited, you just got accepted to medical school, you're thrilled, you can't wait. And then you get to organic chemistry, probably one of the hardest classes in med school. And you're like, I can't do it. I don't have it in me. I give up. And a lot of people do give up. They use that class as a breaker for a lot of med students. So you got to be prepared. Don't give up. So you got to think about how you want to feel each day. What do you need to feel this way? Dig deep and determine whatever deeply motivates you. For me, honestly, what motivates me is helping people. Like, I like to feed the homeless. And you know why? Yes, I am a nice person, I hope, but it's not just that. If you do something to help someone else, you're going to appreciate a lot more what you have. And you're also going to realize you don't actually have it that bad. So if you help someone, you're like, whoa, I'm actually pretty good where I am. So our business should really look like our passion. Some entrepreneurs look to solve problems they identify with or feel passionate about. And they choose this path because work becomes less about work and more about enjoying the journey. And that's what I always try to do. I can't think of a time that I've ever made much money from an idea that I didn't believe in. You know, there have been plenty of times where someone's come to me and they're like, this is it, Ashley. This big thing, Forex, it's going to make you so rich. You're going to love it. Everything's going to change. Well, I didn't have a great interest in that. So I couldn't, it's boring to me. You know, I love cryptocurrency. Definitely, there's lots of opportunity there. But I can't do something I don't believe in because it's not worth it. So the cool thing about solving a problem for ourselves is that many times we'll fill a gap and create a product that resonates. Like, let's say, for example, membership software, accounting software. A lot of times these were created to solve someone's problem and, you know, became a marketable product that's, you know, taken over a lot of industries. So the happiest and most successful people I know don't just love what they do, they're pretty much obsessed with it. I would say that Todd and I are probably like this. I think Mariella too. Michelle, I mean, we love what we do and we like to talk about it. I know Michelle volunteers all the time. It's a passion, not just a job. So if you can improve people's lives, you have a business, says Richard Branson, and I'll take his word for it because he's pretty successful. So when it comes to deciding whether or not you compete with existing competitors in your industry, Branson says, people think, well, everything's been thought of, but actually there are gaps in almost every solution. So there's gaps all over the place, and you don't have to have a solution for everything. You could actually fill just one gap. You could build a plugin for something, you know what I mean? You could build, you know, it doesn't have to be a big thing. So for those, find those seemingly small opportunities. And generally it just starts with doing things a little differently or more conveniently. You know, let's say, for example, you know, not picking a small example, but let's say something like MySpace. Everybody back in the day was using MySpace. Well, then they transitioned over to Facebook because Facebook offered something a little bit different. It was a cleaner look. It was easier. You could connect with your friends. So you don't have to be the first. You just have to be the best. So part of it is your idea. I don't know about you, but sometimes I have so many ideas that I can't decide which one. So what I'll do is I'll do kind of the Benjamin Franklin. I'll think through what matters to me most. I'll map it out and I'll think through what's going to have the greatest return. What can I do on the smallest budget, the fastest return, the most meaningful, that I know the best, that's going to make me happy and hopefully make some other people happy along the way. And there's so many things. I mean, I'm always contemplating different ideas. And if you Google ideas, because maybe you don't have some, you'll get inspired and have some that come your way. So there's a famous author and speaker, Simon Sinek. You may know of him, I hope. If you don't, definitely check out his talks and his books because he's really amazing. And he says that if you can figure out the why behind something, you're going to win at everything else. Because the why is really why people buy from you, that emotional connection, the way something makes them feel, whatever it is. So if we know why and we find our element, this is where our passions and our talents can meet. So if we do that thing we love, we can also use something called design thinking. So this is where we start to get a little more technical. So design thinking in user experience, it's all about creating ideas, and you're creating ideas based on understanding humans. So you're using empathy to understand problems that exist, and you're creating a solution to fill a need somewhere out there in the marketplace. So with design thinking, you're going to practice radical empathy, and it's a product design approach. So if you learn design thinking or user experience and design thinking, you're going to be really marketable also for regular jobs, you know, out in the industry. So we have some UX classes that cover design thinking at Boca Code, for example, but it's a product design approach where thinking like a user is the methodology and user satisfaction is the goal. So we're maybe identifying a problem, but we're not just thinking about ourselves. We're thinking about how this is going to matter to someone else. And this is especially relatable when we're thinking about, let's say, a startup. You know, how do we solve an issue out there? And this is the design thinking methodology, and it's iterative. So the very first step is empathizing and thinking about, how do I fill this need? Who's it for? Ideating on ideas, prototyping ideas, looking around in the marketplace, seeing what already exists. How can you do this or be a little different? And then, testing and implementing some things. So I'm also going to talk to you about not just a startup, but just things that exist out there that you can make money from. But I wanted to cover both approaches because I think they are closely connected, and I've done both. So when you begin a new hustle or project, the first question should always be, what's the human need behind this? So in some cases, the answer might be, the human need is, my family needs more money and I'm going to do a gig, whatever it is. I'm going to, I'm going Fiverr and do a project. But if we don't just want to do a gig and maybe we have a product idea, we might need to do a little more thinking. And this example here, this is called the double diamond. This relates to user experience and graphical design, visual design. And this is the methodology, it's iterative now, for creating a product and delivering it successfully to the market. So it doesn't just apply to virtual or digital products. This could apply to many types of projects. You're going through some sort of discovery, figuring out who it's for, you're defining the solution, you're developing the solution, and you're delivering. And along the way, there's some testing and things like that. But there comes a time, and if you watch the UX talk the other day, there's some similarities, but there comes a time for different types of thinking. Sometimes we need to use really logical thinking to solve a problem or do like something like an implementation. And sometimes we need to be a little bit more flexible in our thinking and allow ourselves to be a bit creative. So the two types are divergent and convergent. So at different points in our process, we're going to use each of these types. So when we're brainstorming, we're using our divergent thinking. We're not really thinking about why something can't be done. We're just thinking about what could be done. What would we do if there were no barriers? Okay, and then convergent says, okay, well, there are barriers. We actually don't have a teleporter. How are we going to solve this problem without that, or whatever it is, just as a kind of radical example. So divergent thinking is about thinking broadly and keeping your mind open. I don't know about you, but I've worked on teams where someone immediately shuts down ideas. I find that very difficult because I like to just kind of throw stuff at the wall and think about things and then figure out whether or not it can be done and how it can be done. Because sometimes maybe we can't do it right now, but we could still do it later. And those generally occur, this type of thinking, during the discovery and the develop phases. You're being creative, you're thinking about, who is this for? How are they going to use it? Why does this matter? And then during the develop phase, you're also coming up with some creative solutions in terms of design and coding and bringing this product to life, if it's a digital product or an app. Convergent thinking really occurs in the definition and deliver phases. So this is where we're defining, let's say, for example, a user flow. The user's going to move through the system in this way. These are the actions they need to perform. During the delivery phase, this is how I'm actually going to deploy it. This is the technology I'm using. This is how it's going to be scalable. Those types of questions can get answered, and they may be a little bit more, closed answers. So if we observe what people really do and we watch people using apps, websites, other interfaces, we can see problems and we'll discover solutions that we can come up with and provide. I believe someone on the call worked with Todd or came up with a Manico. So that helps. I don't know if it's a secret, actually. Maybe I'm not supposed to say that. But anyway, there's all kinds of is that a secret, Todd?
No, I don't think that Saida's on the call. I don't see
Okay.
her, but she's she's very public about it. I know that it's like one of those projects that seems like it should be hush hush,
Yeah.
but she's like all about getting the word out.
Do you
So,
want to tell a little tiny bit about it?
oh, I mean, I don't want to pull away from you, but just real quick,
Oh.
Saida's she's this incredible entrepreneur. She's profoundly deaf, and one of the things that people in the deaf and hard of hearing community struggle with is, they have apps where if they're one-on-one with somebody, they have speech to text apps that can put whatever you're saying to them into text, like closed captioning for them, essentially live or online. But when you go into a crowd, when you walk into an area and there's three people talking, it's incredibly intimidating to them. So for most people in the deaf or hard of hearing community, So she's building an app where you can walk up and it will do like the closed captioning or the speech to text, but it also uses artificial intelligence to listen to the voices and separate the speakers into different voices and color code the speech bubbles so it looks like chat messages with different color coded speech bubbles in real time, based on the voices of the different speakers, and it actually works really well. We're helping her develop it here at Boca Code, and it actually came. Our my relationship with Saida really solidified at the last time that 1909 did a collab event, which they're doing again this weekend. So tying in all of these things, like Michelle's talked before about volunteering, get involved in these things. I'm now serving as an advisor on a tech advisor for her company and three other companies that I connected with at 1909. And we're also helping develop her app, which we're like incredibly excited to be working on because it's such a great passion project and just amazing to help millions of people. And I'll shut up now. Sorry.
Oh no, that's
You just
great. That's
opened up like, you're like, Todd, would you mind talking about this thing that you're really excited and love?
passionate about. Honestly, that's exactly why I asked you to describe it, because I know you love it. And it's an example of we all know this problem exists. She found a solution, and with Todd's help is bringing it to life. So it's amazing how, just as an example, how
And
something
Mariella's on this call, and Mariella's done actually a tremendous amount of work on that app. So I just want to
Yeah,
call her
actually
out
didn't
on that.
even leave her out. That's true. Awesome job, Mariella and Todd, both of you. Okay, so I've already kind of beat this horse. You guys get the point here. So let me move on a little bit. We already talked about this. This relates to a little bit of the different types of deliverables that we can use when we're figuring something out. A lot of times when we're trying to understand humans, it helps if we think about their pain points, what they think about, what they're doing, what they're feeling. And we may not always be able to like tap into their brain, but we can either use data and research, user testing, or we can make some assumptions and start to use it to develop an idea of who we're solving a problem for. And journey maps can be extremely helpful too when you're thinking through, for example, if you're creating an app like the one that we just talked about, you could think about what are they doing before they use your product, what are they doing while they're using your product, what do they do after they use your product, and you can kind of try to cover and improve the areas that you have control over, and also see what you can do to onboard and offboard, make those other parts of the journey a little bit easier as well. And then wireframes and storyboards. So wireframes are really just a sketch, and I totally recommend that before you dive in and start building or designing something, you draw it out, because you're going to start to come up with scenarios that maybe you hadn't thought about, and also you can test them early and see if things make sense. And you can also do some prioritization type activities as well. All of these documents have benefit. If you're doing something for yourself and you have the time, you don't really have much to lose by diving in and trying to build some of these out, especially if you're building an app, because you're gonna save money by the more upfront work you put in, the less it's going to cost you later, or the less refactoring you're going to have to do. Sometimes if we're working for a company, some of these might be expensive if you're hiring someone to do all of this for you. So you might, trim out some that you feel less affinity toward. So how do you create an idea? For sure, look around. We already talked about that. Research, go look at what's trending even right now out in the world. Sometimes that'll give you some ideas. For example, I'm really interested in cryptocurrency, and I have been for a long time. And I thought a few years ago, wow, there's a lot of people telling people what to do, and they're helping them, but there aren't really a lot of women in this marketplace that are offering advice, and there aren't really a lot of people that are just kind of telling you, hey, here's what I'm doing. I'm like, well, I could fill that gap. I'm interested in this, and I could share the journey of learning and understanding blockchain. So that's what I did. That's just one example, and I'll show you that one later. Another thing that you want to think about is how much money do you want to invest? Personally, unless you're building an app, the more control, and I really shouldn't even say that in an app, unless you have something that has a huge budgetary need, the more you can bootstrap it yourself, either by having a day job or figuring out how to cut corners, the more control you're going to maintain over your product longer. And you're going to maintain more of that freedom that we talked about before, because you're going to have less people telling you how to build your baby. So I recommend holding off if you can on investments as long as you can, unless you are fortunate and you just have access to an investor and they want to give it to you and they're ready. I'm not telling you to turn down anybody's check. I'm just saying think it through carefully. How much time do you want to invest, and create a schedule for yourself? For myself, and I think Todd, probably Mariella too, our time bleeds a lot into our personal lives. Luckily, what we do, I mean, bleeds into our personal lives. Luckily, we love it, but creating a schedule for yourself will help you know how much time you really have to invest, because sometimes I'll have a lot of things going on at once. And when I see it on paper, I'm like, oh yeah, I really only have 10 hours for this. How am I going to do this? What can I give up? Personally, I gave up TV. I only read or study. I don't watch TV unless it's a movie. So there's somewhere you can find some time, even if it's, when you're in the bathroom, read a book or watch a video, find time to study and improve your craft. Be careful of conflict of interest. Don't forget your day job. For example, I have code teachers and Boca Code. I also work for Thinkful, but I was very careful in my contract that I told them upfront what I already had, and I wrote into my contract exactly what I was allowed to do. And be careful, because some companies that you work for will actually say that it's written in your contract that they have access or ownership over anything you create on their time. So be very careful about that. So let's explore some profitable ideas. If you already know what you want to do, great. You're gonna pass go, collect your $200 and dive right into personas, which we'll get it to in a moment. But if you don't,
Hey, Ashley, can I just
sure.
interrupt you real quick? Because there was a really good question that came up by Ronaldo in chat. I hope
Yeah.
I'm pronouncing your name right. He said, how do you avoid burnout if your 9 to 5 is like the same as your side job, which
Well,
for
I'm sure
you is
you
kind of
you probably have one answer for that. I have another. I think, okay, being honest, sometimes you may get burned out, and what you're going to have to do is give yourself a little breathing room. For myself, the way that I avoid burnout is hope. Literally, I think about something that I want to accomplish or something I'm working toward. Like, for example, I know that someday I want to go to other countries and I want to help feed people and provide education to them. That is my that is my dream. So it's always in my mind. So when things get really tough, or I feel burnout and I just want to relax, get a book, go to the beach, go do something, give yourself a little downtime, and remember why you're doing this. Try not to so my day job and my side jobs are extremely closely aligned. So what I do is I find ways to make it more interesting. There's certain things that we're not allowed to do in our day job because they're our bosses, they're telling us what to do. So in our own thing, nobody's going to tell us what to do. We can make a course any way we want. For example, Todd and I, we can write a book any way we want. For the crypto, as long as I don't tell you what to invest in, I can share anything I want with you. Nobody's telling me what to say or do. So that gives you a lot of freedom and control. It doesn't feel like a job. But I think it's really important that you give yourself some downtime and hope. And whenever my daughter's depressed, whenever my son's down, I'm like, well, what are you looking forward to? What you need right now is two things. You need to go volunteer so you see that it's not that bad for you right now. And number two, you need something tangible to look forward to. We either need to get a trip on the board or something you're working for, because that's what keeps that fuel going for me. How about you, Todd?
Yeah, so it's funny that I think it's an awesome question because there's so many different answers. But my family asks me this all the time because they see how hard I'm working. And my wife has a job that's incredibly draining, and she works less than half the number of hours that I work. And so she keeps saying, "Man, you're working so hard," but I'm doing what I love. And when you're so passionate, like I'm so excited by Boca Code, so I can put 140 hours into this a week and still have energy left to go. But sometimes though you can get burnt out. I was just sharing a story with somebody where I was working at this job where I really wasn't being fulfilled in that job. So I started working on a side job, and that side job, I got a client that was actually Ally Bank, and they wanted me to build them a 3D game in 20 days. And it was like the kind of game that you would have like a whole team of 100 people building, and we had 3 people. So I was working about 120 hours a week on that, plus my 40 hour a week day job. That's 160 hours. There's only 168 hours in the week. So I was getting 1 or 2 hours of sleep a night, which meant that during my day job, I was getting some of the sleep there at my desk, because I didn't love what I was doing, and it was very draining. So I would literally be nodding off at work, but then I was excited to get home and work on this cool game that I was building. And so I agree that there has to be something that you're looking forward to. And my wife tries to do that. She's like, let's plan a vacation, let's plan a trip. To me, that stresses me out. I don't want to go away from Boca Code. I want to be working here. I want to be building this. So if your side hustle or your main job are something that you really love and you're really passionate about, that could be what you're looking towards, and that could be what's driving you and exciting you. And I have people like, Monica on this call, who is constantly telling me, did Monica leave? She was here, I thought. Oh yeah, Monica's here. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm here.
she's I'm getting feedback from people like Monica, like, oh my God, Todd, you're doing so much for the community and all this great stuff. And that to me, that helps me get going. That helps drive me. That's like pouring fuel on my fire. So, having the support from the community can really help as well.
I agree. And I think there's one other thing to think about. And for the record, Monica is also one of the owners of Code Teachers too. So there's Todd and Monica and myself. Hi, Monica. So I think the other thing that I was going to say to you is that preparing for that dip, like for example, right now there's a project I'm working on and I'm putting it off. And you know that you're not working on the right things when you're putting something off. If you're dreading it, you're not doing the right thing. And that means either you've accidentally taken on a client that's maybe a little bit too much of a headache. And I'm going to warn you, as an agency owner, the small projects, the tiny businesses can sometimes be much, much, much harder to manage than a larger project, because they kind of understand, they get it. They're like, oh yeah, you do your thing, I'll do my thing. But when you get micromanaged or tapped out by requests that scope creep, let's say, for example, you got to manage that really carefully, because that is the type of thing that will burn you out. Scope creep, being taken advantage of, doing something you don't enjoy, not fully understanding what you're being asked and diving in. So you're kind of like, oh, I don't know if I want to do that right now. Don't do those things, because it's going to make you miserable and you're not going to stick with it. So those things, as soon as you can, cross them off your list and don't do them again, because I've done it over and over, and believe me, it never gets better. Don't do it. So the next thing, preparing to launch your startup. So there really is a formulaic approach you can take, and it really boils down to thinking through what you're creating, what it's going to look like. You don't have to know everything. You don't have to be a tech expert. There are plenty of people that can help you. Maybe you're even willing to take on a co-founder. What I wouldn't do personally is go and ask someone, hey, will you build this for me for free? I'll give you 50%, because we get offered that all the time, us tech people, and I appreciate it, but it's not just an idea. The idea doesn't have that much value until you actually bring it to life. You know what I mean? I think I learned that from that book, Ready, by the Basecamp people, the people that were the founders or the creators of Ruby on Rails, I think it was. They said, an idea is only worth the realization of it. So, yeah, it would be nice if people could build ideas for free, but unless you're doing it for charity, it's not that easy. So I need ideas. Okay, that's fine. So here's one way you can get started. If you just want to start doing a side hustle, join the gig economy. There's tons of things going on out there. You may not make quite as much as you will on some of the other ideas I'm going to talk to you, but it's a good way to get out there and start doing something else. So this could actually be really lucrative. So starting a blog, if this is something you're interested in, you write about a topic you're passionate about, you can become an industry expert. You can actually get more business from this because you have written proof that you know what you're talking about. You can monetize by having affiliate links, or potentially, as you grow, advertising. Doing this, though, you're going to need to learn some things. You need to learn search engine optimization, or have someone that can help you do that. That's one thing. Creating a course, you probably see the ads on Facebook. I know I do. And this is true. This is really a viable way to change your life. If you create a course on a subject you love and you do a great job, and you sell it, let's say you sell it for only $47 and you sell it 1,000 times, and then you sell it 10,000 times, you've literally changed your life. And you can build the next one and the next one and the next one. And this is one of my passions. I love it because I love to share knowledge, and I also want to change my life. Another thing that some people are interested in is starting a coaching business. I did get my coaching certification a long time ago just because I wanted to be a better mentor when I helped, consult or things like that. Consulting is another way to make a lot of money. You already are an expert at what you're doing during the day. Why not do, as long as you're allowed, something at night? Drop shipping. This is a little bit of an art because you don't want to get cheated. There's lots of sites out there that, say they'll sell you a drop shipping list. There's plenty of other ways to do it. If you're going to do drop shipping, what it's really about is you creating the best story of this product. You're going to have the nicest site, the best story, search engine optimization. So they land on you and they're like, I'm going to buy this product here. And then now you're just leveraging someone else to fulfill that product for you. So you don't have to carry overhead of an inventory. They're doing all the risk in terms of overhead of inventory. You're spending money on content, on site, on your site, on SEO. You're a marketer when you have a drop shipping business. Freelancing, this goes back to potentially a small agency or being a freelancer. This is very lucrative. It can be very painful if you don't scope right. So just be careful about that. And there's lots of sites you can freelance, Upwork, Fiverr, and lots and lots of others. Freelance writing is very lucrative. Fortunately, people respect it more now. They pay a lot more for writing. Just as an example, I used to pay about $5 an article. Sorry to be so cheap. But now I generally don't get an article for at least even a small article that I'm using for one of my sites, which I'll tell you about later. Minimum I'll spend is $27, which is a lot more than I used to pay. And you may say, wow, that's low. You can make a lot more than that. Affiliate marketing. So some people think of this as a spammy topic, but it's really not, because what affiliate marketing is it's you serving as a salesperson for someone else's product. And if you can master this, your income level is literally uncappable. I know for sure this works. I had the fortunate opportunity starting around 2012 to work for a super affiliate. And a super affiliate is usually someone that makes 6, 7 or more figures. And the one that I worked for made $1.5 million a month. And thankfully, we became best friends, and they showed me every single thing that they knew, in and out, how to do it from top to bottom. And because of that, I know it works. And I do this myself too, because there was this saying that said, I think, is it Warren Buffett? I think it is. Or no, I might have it, the author wrong, but it says, if you don't learn to make money while you sleep, you're going to be working until you die. And I was like, well, that doesn't sound very fun. I don't want to do that. So how do we do it? Multiple streams of income, passive income, staying open to ideas and trying it. Buy low, sell high. I think that I meant to have cryptocurrency on here for this one. Now, this is another area, it's not regulated yet. Some people are afraid of it. But what I say is, don't invest money you don't have. Learn about this industry. Spend only what you can afford. We're already buying coffees and things like that. Don't buy those coffees. Skip McDonald's. Put that money instead into something like cryptocurrency. I'm going to tell you, honest to God, I swear, I only invested, I think about, I can't remember if it was $100 or $500, but either way, we're not talking a lot of money. Off of that money, I made $7,500. And all I did was I figured out the best coins that I trusted, and I didn't sell them. I held them. Even when I saw them going down, I stayed until, the timing was right. And then, then I decided to sell if I wanted to or not, because you only lose money when you sell. You as long as you hold it, you haven't lost anything until, you actually sell and realize a loss. So that's definitely an industry I would recommend looking into, because they expect, for example, I'm not telling you what to do or buy, but for example, they expect one Bitcoin, which right now is at about 18,000 something a coin. They expect within 15 years for one Bitcoin to be worth $1 million. Do I know if that'll really happen? I don't. But do I know that taking $100 and turning it into, $100,000 is probably not that bad of a risk? What do you have to lose? So, finding the patterns that you can trust, and, the certain coins that you can invest in. Anyway, that's another side hustle idea, something I definitely have fun myself with. Event planning, parties. I'm sure Monica would be an expert at that. She does all kinds of cool events. Digital marketing. This is a great way to make money. A lot of people need someone to promote, market, help them with their site. Tons and tons and tons of options out here in this world. Pet sitting. I don't know if you guys have ever used Rover. My daughter uses it, and she used to make, she doesn't do it as much anymore. She has a smaller place, but she used to make about $300 a weekend watching dogs. And she loves dogs. I mean, it was no work for her. She had fun. She got to play with some dogs and make like $300 a weekend. So how much money can you make? This is really about a freedom planner. So I'm going to show you something that's actually private, but I want to just show you because I feel generous today. Let me see if I can find it. Just give me 1 second. Let me stop sharing for 1 second. I can find it quickly. I didn't mean to close it beforehand. I'm sorry about that. 1 second. Think of questions while I do this, please.
So
Slides.
Ashley, we're
Yes.
we're recording this and hopefully going to put it on YouTube. Is this something that's
Yeah, it's not
want me to
that
cut out of
private.
that video?
It's just,
Okay.
I'm not going to share everything. I'm just going to give you a little sneak peek. But this is something that I actively do to plan out my own dreams. And this is something I recommend you guys do. So if I can find my slides, I'm sorry, I'm
Hey, actually, while you're looking for that, for Rover, how old you got to be to like
well, to be
enroll?
honest, I signed up and she worked under me. You know what I mean? So
Ah,
I was
okay.
the person because she was only at the time 15 or 16. And I don't know if there's an age, to be honest, but she was 15 when we used to do it. And I just, I've made sure everything was safe and looked out for her, of course. But,
Oh, cool.
you
Yeah,
know,
I'm just asking for my girls. One of them was 12, and she's like, "How do I make money? How do I make money?"
I'm telling you, it is a great way. It is so fun. And I'm going to be honest, there's many times when I'd help out or watch. I love dogs too. So it was no work for me. I just, I made sure she kept the cash. But, I would just check, make sure everything's okay, make sure the dogs were safe. And it was a great way. It was really fulfilling. They have all different types too. Just, they have dog walking, dog sitting. You can bring them to your house. You can go to their house. They're 12, so that won't be harder. But they have lots of different options. And it was really fun. So what
Cool.
I'm going to
Thank
show
you.
you, sure. What I'm going to show you guys right now is my current objective. Let me share my screen again with you. If I can. Hold on, let me share. Sorry. There we go. Share screen. Okay, so I called it Operation Freedom, and I have another thing called Freedom Hackers. And basically, what this is right now is it's a path to $700,000 a year of income from the side, on the side. Doesn't include my day pay. So how did I do this? These are the ways that I'm doing this right now. Courses teach you. Some of this is with Todd. Some of this is stuff I just already had going in the background. Courses teach you. I already spoke to you guys about that. Agency, Todd and I do agency work through Boca Code. Affiliate, this is one of my favorites because this is passive. Once you get it going, it's extremely fun. And you can do it from anywhere. My intention someday is hopefully to do this from Hawaii, way in the future. Lead gen, learning marketplace, app, side hustle. So these are different things that I have worked on. And then what I did is I planned out for each thing how much revenue and how they work. I'm going a little bit fast. And I know you can still pause in the video, but anyway, the point is that just with one of my sites that I run right now, this doesn't even include the revenue that I make from the actual trades themselves. This is just the site itself by me recommending to people which exchanges to use, how do you get signed up? What do you do? How do you do it? Just from that, my intention is to make $300,000 a year too. Well, it's not that hard. And I'm going to show you exactly how I do this in a moment. Let me go back over to Canva. So that's what I meant by it's private. It shows, yeah, I don't make $700,000 a year yet, but doesn't mean I won't soon. Okay, so how much money can you make? We already talked about that. Okay, so this is about thinking through who you're creating for, if it's an app or a startup. Personas are something that are recommended for really every project that you potentially are going to bring to life. Because if you understand your audience, you can create better messaging. You can make sure that your advertising is more targeted. You can make sure that you're creating the right features. So if you understand who you're creating for, you're going to have a better product. And this applies even to the scenario I was just talking to you about with my crypto coach. Who am I creating for? Probably a newbie, someone who's dabbling. I'm not making recommendations. I'm not a stock trader. I would only pass along things that I learn. Anyway, so when you create a persona, you think about, you can do it two ways. Either you can use it with real data, which is the ideal way. You do some surveys, some user research, market research. If you don't have the budget or time for that, you can create a proto persona. You think about, who am I creating for? What do they do every day? What are they buying? What do they want to do? How can my business have a positive impact on their life? What are their pain points? What brands do they usually consume? Why does this matter to them? So once we have an idea of some of these answers, we can start to create, I thought I had a picture of it. We can start to create a persona. You're going to see one in a minute. It's coming later. So we're going to have this planning, like I already mentioned to you, and even something as simple as this idea of a site that makes recommendations requires planning, because I need to plan my content strategy. I need to plan what products I'm going to promote. I need to plan how I'm going to rank. If it's products with Todd, we have to think about, what are the jobs that are most in demand? Who are the students? What can they afford? What can the market bear? How do we make sure they get jobs? How do we make sure this matters to them? How do we make this interesting to them? We need to answer all these questions before we start to present in front of you. So, there's a part of it where it's ideating, then defining, and then thinking through the story of it. Why are we doing this? So both Todd and I are very passionate, and Monica too, about helping others, and Mariella too, Michelle, all of us actually, about helping others reach their potential, right? So I think our brand story, at least from a code teacher's perspective, our brand story is, wherever you are right now doesn't have to be where you stay. You can do anything, and here, let us show you how. And I would say, Boca Code probably has a better version of a similar story. So that brand story, there's plenty of sites out there that focus a lot on this, but it's about creating authentic connections with your audience. So it's, why are you doing this? How's this going to benefit someone? Why does this matter to you? Once you have that figured out, you can come up with your name. Maybe you already have a name in mind. Sometimes this might relate to a little Google research if you want to rank for a long tail term. You can document your idea, define your brand. So now we're going to go into getting some clients. Okay. I think I'm supposed to move on to slide 2 now. Hang on one second. That didn't look familiar. Is this part 2? This is intermission for you guys. Part 2. Okay, perfect. Let me see, am I getting low on time? I could talk about this all day. Okay, so the next thing, some people may not feel like they have the technical expertise to bring some of these ideas to life, but there's plenty of options out in the marketplace. There are many freelancers available on Fiverr in every capacity you can think of, whether you need a virtual assistant, you need content, you need someone who does search engine optimization, you need someone who builds apps, whatever it is. They have price ranges from $5 to pros that charge thousands of dollars, and you can test it out. There was a really cool video a while back that showed what someone could get for $25 off Fiverr, and it was a pizza ad. It's really cool, actually. You should Google it. And they hired a bunch of different pros, and they had each one do the exact same task, and they showed the results from the different budgets, just so you could get an idea of what you might get using a marketplace like that. Hey, Boca Code could also help you build your idea, just so you know. But just let us know if you need help. So case study, I'm going to use an example. I hope that this is okay with you guys. If you want me to use another example, I will. But in this case, I'm going to show you a little bit about how you could generate revenue from a blog, because it's widely used, and it's never too late to start. And when I used to work for that person that made $1.5 million a month, he had about 1,500 of them. So there was a whole staff of writers. We had search engine optimizers. We had people that would would social tweet, show social indicators. We had people that would build links. So there's lots and lots of things that go into it that people may not even realize are part of it. And that didn't even relate to just the ideas themselves. So the first thing you're going to think about if you're doing a blog is, what audience are you creating it for? And I definitely recommend that you do it for a subject you care about, because it's not a piece of cake up front. Later it gets easier and easier, but up front there's a lot of work. So for myself, my topics are kids coding, coding in general, cryptocurrency, things about starting your own business, side hustle, autism, Christianity, because these things all matter to me. So all of these things are areas that I can generate revenue and hopefully use it for something good. But I feel comfortable and I enjoy these subjects. So that was my discovery. Then what I did next is I overlay what's in demand for those industries. Which one, what's the most competitive? What's going to be the hardest to rank for? Well, in this case of that list, cryptocurrency, because it's very high paying, okay? So it's going to take a lot more work to rank, and it's going to take a lot more work to learn, if you're new in it. Same if you do some other financial, like binary options or Forex, blog about that. It's going to take more work, more competition. Whereas if I choose, let's say, autism, maybe it's going to be a little bit lower paying in terms of the monetization options, but it might be a topic that's easier to rank for. There's not as much competition. Long tail keywords aren't going to be as taken. Regional marketing is going to be easier. So you're going to think through these things, especially when you're new. Some people just dive into a site like, let's say, Wealthy Affiliate or one of those. Personally, they do have great training, so I'm not dinging them on their training. It's awesome. But if you go to a site and you have them do everything for you, and they're doing everything for everyone else too, how are you going to differentiate yourself? You've got to put in the hard work to do it. It's that simple. So the next thing is your persona. So we thought about what we're going to do. So in this case, I'm going to use Crypto Coach, if you don't mind. So I'm going to dig in, and I thought, well, I know I love it. I know I love blockchain. I love coding. I love the things that blockchain can be used for. I find crypto fascinating. So I did some research and I looked around at the competition that was out there, and I looked around using various tools. Let me show you a few. I think I'm going to show you some later, actually. I'll go back if I don't. So let me represent. I think I do show you. So I'll show you some tools to do some research. Then I think through who's my persona. I already described a bit. In this case, I must have chosen that I was doing, in this example, it might have been something related to autism, but in this case, this is Sue, busy mom. If I were talking to her on social media, I would always write to her in the same voice, and I would communicate with Sue every time so that when people come on and read my copy, it's very consistent. It doesn't one minute feel like I'm talking to a teenager and the next minute feel like I'm talking to a banker and then next minute a mom. It's always going to be that persona that I'm trying to reach. Okay, here's one of them. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to do some keyword research. So you're going to figure out, if you're not creating a product, if you're creating an app, I can answer questions on that too. So can Todd, just let us know. But if we're sticking with the blog case study, we're going to do some, or website, you're going to do some keyword research, and you're going to get an idea of what's the volume of traffic for these terms, and how hard is it going to be for me to compete? It gives you, this is Moz, it gives you a rank, how difficult it is, how often it's clicked on, and they're even giving you the exact long tail, which means it's a search phrase, not just a word. They're giving the search phrase that's being searched for, autism resources for parents. Okay, cool. So in my case, it might be, for Crypto Coach, how to trade Bitcoin, how to get started in cryptocurrency, how to get started in Bitcoin, because not everybody knows, the difference. What is blockchain? Terms like that I might rank for. The next thing you're going to think through is social media. So you need to think through your whole content strategy, because Google is very particular about how they rank you now. They look for social indicators. So you're going to need an active social community, active posting, tweeting, retweeting, Facebook posts. I told you it's not simple, and you can get people to help you do this, but this shows relevancy. This shows that there's a strong social media indicators that people are interested, you're relevant, and what you're telling is legit because people are talking about it. The next thing you're going to think through is your monetization strategy. So how are you going to make money? Well, for crypto, I make money by selling courses, by promoting exchanges from a very fair and honest review. So I personally will never recommend something that I don't believe in. So these are very fair reviews that are vetted against real results that people have demonstrated. So a lot of times, if you go to a site and they say top 10 ways to, or top 10, they're generating revenue from that. They are promoting to you a list of 10, all 10 are paying them. Sometimes the order is based on how much they're receiving compensation for. Generally, I don't do that. I keep it very fair and honest. I put it in the order of the real recommendations. But that's up to the person. So the next thing that you're going to do in your strategy is, are you going to offer advertising? Well, people aren't going to advertise on your site until you have traffic. So you need to build traffic, and you need to build traffic by being interesting, by doing guest posts on other sites that show you're an expert. So people travel over and join your community or your blog. And then, possibly some products, there's various ways you could do that, drop shipping or your own. Directory listings, you could either serve as a directory, or you could use links to directory links to build traffic to your site, build links. So this is easy for most of us, but you're going to want to register your domain. So pretty straightforward. And then you're going to want to define your solution. What tool are you going to use as your backbone? So are you going to use Webflow? Are you going to use WordPress? Are you going to use, there was another one recently I heard that's becoming really popular. Oh my gosh, I'm losing the name at the moment. Pretty sure it's based on React, but I'm forgetting the name. Sorry, I'll put it in a note on YouTube. Are you going to use something that's maybe a learning platform like LearnWorlds or Teachable or Kajabi or one of those? Whatever platform you decide to use. In this case study, I'm going to use WordPress for a few reasons. One, extremely well optimized for search engine optimization. Two, it's free. You just have to get your domain name, your web hosting, and then install WordPress. The only charge that you'll have is generally your theme, which I'll show you in a minute. Oops. And then you're going to start to do the next hard work, which is planning out your architecture. What is your site going to look like? How are you going to move users through your site? And then even, if you're going to have, let's say, a funnel, how are you going to nurture those visitors that come to your site and remind them of you so that they come back and visit you or buy from you or learn from you? So you're going to map out a strategy for your content, you're going to map out a strategy for your architecture, and you're going to map out your funnel strategy, which is how do they buy from you? How do you keep them interested? If you don't sell a product, how do you just make sure to stay in touch with them? And then this one is probably one of my favorites, because this is where you separate, what's the word I'm looking for? But basically this separates the big dogs, I guess you could say. So if you can learn how to optimize your site or hire someone that's legitimate and honest that can help you rank your site, this is totally what determines, besides the quality of your content, whether or not you make money. Because if you build a product and no one can find you, you might as well have just put it in your portfolio as an example of work you can do. This is where the majority of your costs are going to come in, and the majority of your effort on an ongoing forever basis. You're always going to be adding content. You're always going to be working on your SEO strategy. And SEO stands for search engine optimization. So you can drive traffic to your site really in, let's say, I'm going to say only 4 ways for now. Word of mouth, social media, buying an ad, which is more expensive, or search engine optimization. Search engine optimization takes time, depending on how hard it is to rank for your terms. So if you're a low competition, 1 to 3 months, you'll start to rank. Medium, 3 to 6. Hard, like let's say something financial or credit cards or helping students or universities, 6 to 12 months it's going to take to rank. So you're going to need some other strategies to drive traffic in the meantime. Inbound links, backlinks, guest posts, social posts, advertising, and there's lots of things that you're going to have to do to build traffic. So the other thing I mentioned is that if you choose WordPress, you can also add a theme to your site. So in this case, I'm recommending ThemeForest because it's so easy to buy and they look great and it's very easy to install 99% of the time. If you want to create one yourself or find one another way, you could also go to create something on Canva, but you'd have to add it into WordPress. It's a little harder. Or you could use Fiverr or 99 Designs, or Boca Code could make it for you. Just joking, but not really. So the next thing that you're going to do is you're going to start to bring it to life. So you can either have someone do this for you, or if you are willing to put in a little work and figure it out, you can get your domain name, buy your hosting, same place if you want, install WordPress. It's generally one click. You'll see it, add your theme. Now you're going to start adding content. And at first, a lot of times when you add a theme, what you're going to want to do is add in all your demo content because it'll show you where you should put everything. And then once you have that down, you can strip out the demo content and replace it with yours. So if you're going to do things like e-commerce, so another reason I like WordPress a lot is there are thousands of plugins that you can use many times for free that help you extend your site. So you can add social media interaction, you can add shopping, you can add learning, like training module management, you can add search engine optimization features. So all that stuff is out there and you can see exactly which ones to use, which ones are ranked the highest very easily. So you install your theme, add your content. So content, you can definitely do it all yourself, or you could get someone to help you on Fiverr. For myself, I would say on average, my budget for content every month is every week minimum. My most important sites generally receive at least $300 of content. I try to do more, but it depends on what's going on and it depends on the quality of the content. So I'm going to pay more for a very high quality piece. Like for example, let's say something I'm going to use over and over, like how to get started in crypto. If I write it myself, great, it's going to take me some time. If I pay someone, I'm going to pay more because this is going to be an evergreen piece I'm going to use over and over and over with some modifications. If I'm just driving traffic to my site and I just want to talk about a subject, I might pay less for that type of article. But what I'm going to do is use it to show that I'm relevant to the topic. So logo, so you can buy one, make one. I'm using right now to present to you a tool called Canva. I did that on purpose because I wanted you to see, I'm going to show you in a minute how easy it is. I love this tool. I don't use it for the professional designs that we create for clients, but if I'm creating something for myself or I'm just doing something quick, this is an excellent tool for design newbies and design experts. And they also have a really great free visual design training, like little crash course you can go through that helps you kind of make some good decisions about hierarchy and things like that. So now you've done that work, you're going to deliver it. You're going to start putting stuff out on social media. You can use something like Hootsuite to schedule your posts. I lost my graphic here. I don't know where it went, but guest blogging. There are lots and lots of sites that'll let you put your blog, your post, unique content, unique, not copied content, on their blog and link to you. And if you can do that on a high value site, like let's say Yahoo Finance, that's going to raise your credibility a lot in Google's eyes. And what's going to happen is it's going to shoot up your credibility and your page rank, your weight is going to become higher and you're going to start to rank faster the more you do it. Very, very, very important that all of your content is unique. Run it through Copyscape, make sure nothing is duplicated. You'll get penalized. Pay-per-click ads, we already talked about that. That's Google, Facebook, et cetera. List building. So this is creating valuable links, guest blogging for other sites, capturing emails. You're getting an audience that you can communicate with ideally, and then use that to email market because that is very valuable. You know who you're talking to. Lead magnets. So I guess an example of this would be something like top 5 ways to break into tech. Let's say, for example, if I was going to do one for Boca Code. So we would give you this piece of content. You'd learn from us. In exchange, you'd pay us with your email address. Now we can market to you unless you opt out. So, that's the benefit of a lead magnet. Funnel creation is a very important part. And this relates to, if you haven't ever watched them, just because they're so inspirational, check out ClickFunnels. I'm not saying even that you necessarily have to use their tool, but their videos, their funnel hacker videos are very inspiring because they talk about making a lot of money and they talk about being really excited by what you're creating, and they do a really great job of presenting it. I'm always like ready to do something new when I watch them. So part of running your own startup or doing some of these side gigs is really about continuous improvement. And that's also known as Kaizen. And that's it. I didn't use our normal final thank you slide, Todd. I hope that's okay. So that was a lot of words.
I'll forgive you. I'll forgive
Thank you, Todd. Thank you. Sorry, guys.
If you seem out of breath, I know. So just, for those of you that don't know, Ashley actually originally asked for 2 hours to give this talk. But then there was a conflict with Michelle's talk earlier. So she squeezed it all into an, under an hour and a half, which is awesome. So there's time for Q&A. But that was great, Ashley. I think you provided a lot of very useful and insightful information, and it's hopefully inspiring too.
I hope so.
So with,
I really do. Thank you.
With that, I'll open it up for questions if anybody's got questions or comments. I know that was a lot to digest.
Sorry, yeah. And feel free to email us. Todd and I will help you if you need help, if anything didn't make sense.
I only want to say, Ashley, is that I want to be you when I grow up.
Thank you. Thank you.
I really interested in seeing your take on all the crypto tutoring and what you're doing about the crypto that you didn't have time to go into, but definitely that's a conversation.
I'll tell you honestly, that class is completely free. I do it just for the fun because I love it and I want to help people learn about things and make money. And, I could even, if Todd was okay with it, put it through Boca Code. I don't know the rules about that. I don't know, but it is totally free. And there's one on December 3rd. And literally, I'm just going to teach you how to do exactly what I do.
Promote it for sure.
Yeah, I can't make any, I can't tell you what coins to buy, but I can tell you which ones I buy. So
I'd be interested in that course too.
Thanks.
Yeah.
So just
let's put this on our list for 2021.
a quick shout out to Jonathan. I know he's boosting you up, but he's also quite the entrepreneur himself.
Yeah.
He's got several side hustles and been around the block with them, and he's also one of a part owner in Boca Code as well. Yeah. So he's also got his fingers in a lot of different, dipping his fingers in a lot of pies, which that's I think if you take away one of the takeaways I think from today is to try different things and don't be afraid to kind of branch out. But for me, I'm always amazed with you, Ashley, that you can have 10 different balls in the air, and I think it's really important to have these different pipelines. And I just spoke to a high school class this morning about how at Nebula, when I had my agency, we started our own software. And now that software has become a pipeline.
That's cool.
And it's just a SaaS product, and I can be laying on the beach making money, and that's fantastic. So developing those pipelines is impressive. But for me, it's I can't juggle as many balls as you. I have to focus and try and do focus on just one or a couple things at a time.
That is totally okay. To be honest, I'm gonna be totally honest with all of you. I have ADHD. So I actually do better when I'm doing more than one thing at a time because I can focus better. I feel like it does something to you. I don't know what, but it's like a proven thing. I was gonna show you how I manage having so many balls in the air since you mentioned that. One thing that I do, sorry?
Maybe left.
Yeah, I was hanging out. One thing that I do is I keep a lot of sheets. So what I'll do, for example, is if I move over here, I can see exactly which sites I have and I can see exactly what content I have in queue, which things I'm working on, which domains I have underway. So I just keep all of this moving all the time. And I do the exact same thing when I'm working on things with Todd for Boca Code or Code Teachers. Code Teachers has been a lot lighter recently, unfortunately, because of COVID. We used to teach in person at about 50 schools, but all of that's lightened up, sorry to say, because of what's going on. And what I do is I very particularly choose where to put my time. So I might choose, because I love the affiliate stuff, I might say, okay, Sunday, I'm gonna block off this time, I'm gonna give myself this just for that. Monday through Friday, book a code from, let's say 4 to 9 or whatever it is I choose. And then, I just literally time box. And like I said, I don't watch TV, so I don't waste time there. If I exercise, I learn more,
I didn't know there was any in there.
Oh yeah, I bought a CG12 pack.
etc. So that's how I keep a lot of balls in the air. And I also have a lot of help. For example, I use Fiverr a lot. And you can see I have all these different things, or Boca Code could help you. I have all these different things going all the time. Also, Monica helps. We all work together. So that's the answer to that one.
I like the comment that just came up in chat from Michelle. She's like, Ashley, you're a mad scientist, but for startups.
I'm a mad scientist. I do love science projects, so you might be onto something there. Thank you guys. So does anybody have any other questions? Anything you want to say, Monica? I know you're on too.
Yeah, so John was, no, Monica had to leave early, so
okay.
she bid farewell a few minutes ago. But John, I just muted John because there was some background noise, but he said he was wanting to ask a question about drop shipping. And then Shiona just asked, how do you discover a side hustle when you don't have a passion? Yeah, so those
we all have a passion, we just have to find it. So if you don't feel like you have a passion, you need to go to the bookstore and wander around. What stands out to you? You're like,
or
politics.
Or just tying it back to Michelle's talk is volunteer, get involved in things. And, volunteer and is a great way to get, your foot in with the tech industry. And I know it's too late to apply for this weekend for the collab, but volunteering at the collab at 1909, you get to see all of these different entrepreneurs and all these different projects they're working on. And and one of them is going to spark your interest, and you'll be inspired. And so just, I think, being involved in the tech community, and being involved, or not even necessarily the tech community, but just getting involved with different groups. And like Ashley is passionate about, with the church, so getting involved in that, or with with animals, like volunteer at an animal shelter. You're going to find these passions. Like Michelle and I have recently been getting involved with the accessibility community, and we've recently discovered all of these things there where there's like these big holes, or people who are taking advantage of people with disabilities. And we're at Boca Code, we're going to be sponsoring next year this big open source project to help with people who can't speak, with the assistive technology, communicative technology, like launching a huge open source project around that. Because right now these, some of these people have to pay $65,000 a year for just to license the technology that allows them to communicate. And so sometimes it's just a matter of like, even attending things like this, you like hear something and it sparks. Like, when I was an undergrad, I had a teacher who happened to mention, like, just kind of in passing in a class, about ice cores, how like a glacier, like, builds up a layer of ice every year, and you could drill down and like see, back a history of climate, kind of like tree rings year to year. I was blown away. I was like, oh my God. And a year later, I was studying at Ohio State with the two premier ice core scientists in the world. So, just get involved, and you'll find, like Ashley, I agree, Ashley, you have that passion there. It just, something hasn't, pulled on that heartstring yet.
Yeah. There's no doubt it's in there. All of us have talent, gifts. All of us have something in us. There's something you like. That's your thing.
You'll find it.
Oh, drop shipping. What was the drop shipping question?
Yeah, so John was asking, he said, how do you feel about drop shipping?
I think that it's awesome. I think that people will take advantage of you by selling drop shipping lists. So I think it's very important that you do it in a couple ways. Either you extend, oh, actually, I never even told you how to set up your affiliate accounts. I'll tell you that in a second, but it's very important that you do your research and make sure that whatever you're signing up for is legitimate. Even in some cases, you can reach out to a company and offer to promote their products, and they'll do the drop shipping for you. I mean, you still need some way to exchange the information between you, but for example, I was really interested in doing a paddleboard site a few years ago. So we went and found drop shippers for paddleboards. So I think that it's about finding a product you're interested in and seeing if there's already a niche out there that you can potentially leverage as a drop shipper. I think that it's great in that you can save a lot of money on inventory. You probably won't make as much money as if you did carry your own inventory for a product you love. So let's say, for example, the paddleboards, after I figure out how to drop ship them, I'm like, well, what's it going to look like if I just want to bring in my own boards, you know, and fulfill them, and how much would it cost? So it could be a great way to get started and generate revenue. And then you can decide, maybe have a mix of some of your own and some dropship product, or maybe give you a bigger inventory offering than just the 1 or 2 products you might be able to carry. But I definitely believe in it. I don't personally leverage it much at the moment, because I focus on projects that bring really high commissions. So for example, just to give you an example, if you sign up for, let's say you resell Shopify, or there's certain things out there where sometimes the commission can be like $8,000, or let's say, for example, the stuff in crypto, those are very high value sales. So for Binance, what happens is if I sell Binance or market Binance, I get a percentage of the life of that that customer. So forever, as long as they're a customer of Binance, I get a percentage of their trade, you know, sales. So I look for things like that are going to pay long term. But I think that if you have a product in mind or it's important to you, just as long as you research it. But to give you an idea of legitimate affiliate exchanges, so this might even go to the product you're not sure what you're passionate about, look around Commission Junction or Share a Sale or Pepper Jam and see if there's anything out there that resonates with you. You can see exactly what they're going to pay you. And, you know, you can, you know, look into what it would take to market that product. On the flip side, as a company, like let's say Code Teachers or even Boca Code or Thinkful, which I also do things for, we pay affiliates to market our products. So for example, Boca Code doesn't, sorry, disclaimer there. Boca Code does not do this, but Thinkful does. So they'll list.
We'll pay for, well, we could pay if somebody sends us a student.
Yeah. So, but this is how people generate and how schools generate thousands of students. I mean, I can't give away any secrets, but I'll just say they have a lot of students at, for example, Thinkful. And the way that they do it is by having people sell their product for them. They also have a very strategic SEO campaign. And Code Teachers, same thing. Let other people sell your product for you. So, and you can sign up as a provider. So like say, for example, Todd and I, we could go on as a provider on Affiliate Junction or Commission Junction, sorry, and we could say, hey, we're going to give you 50% if you market our product. You might say 50%, what? Well, how much did we save on marketing and advertising and nurturing and recalling and you know, everything, you know, we saved a lot. It might be worth, you know, 50% in some cases, maybe not. Anyway. Anything
Well, this
else?
has been awesome. I think we're right up at time
Are we
here.
okay?
Just, you know,
Sure.
yeah, if there's any, you know, maybe one last question that you want to ask. Otherwise, thank you so much, Ashley. This has been great. As I mentioned, we'll have these recordings up on our site, you know, within the next day or so. So if you want to come back and check them out, yeah. So thank you everyone for attending. Thank you, Ashley.
Thank you.
And thanks to the
See you
whole
tomorrow.
community, and happy Global Entrepreneur Week. And hopefully I'll see some of you at the collab weekend.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Ashley.
All right, thank you. Take care. Bye.
Thank you, Ashley.
Bye, guys.
Bye.